cities have been where we live, play, work, and build community. They shape culture and influence our identity. But as our cities continue to grow, they become more at risk of overcrowding, resulting in cities with ever-expanding boundaries, greater damage to our environment, and pushing out people who are disadvantaged. By 2050, 7 in 10 of us will be living in these cities. What do we want the future of urban living to look like? My name is Colin, and I'm the creator of Never Too Small. I'm venturing out of my own 37 square meters apartment to meet the thinkers, planners, and designers that are tackling the big problems our cities face.
If you carry on expanding the city, it doesn't have good social or environmental outcomes.
We need to better understand what are the best practices for social housing, affordable housing, so that we can provide not just the right space to live, but also the places that they're gonna need to interact with others.
We're seeing massive climate and biodiversity emergency, so the planning and design of our cities is critical to actually maintaining nature.
There is certainly an appetite across the globe to indigenise design that starts to celebrate culture, that celebrates diversity, and it celebrates inclusivity.
Could it be that good design can make our cities the happiest places on earth? And to realize it, do we need to think small?
Melbourne Station Pier, and then they put the light rail in. You asked me what was the one thing I could do that would change the city. And Melbourne's a city that's built on a bay. Most of the development has occurred in and around this area. It comes from the centre of Melbourne, where you've got your grid, and a radial set of train lines and tram lines that go out to adjacent centres. Located along these, we have all the activity centres. Now, these are like small CBDs. And every time we say we need to expand the city, we come to the fringe and we start pushing out in these directions. If you wanted to make this a better metropolitan area, you'd stop expanding and you'd come back in on yourself. All future development would occur back within the current boundary. We'd build along the existing infrastructure, the rail lines, the activity centres that are around here. For every 1 million people you put in here, you would save $110 billion. So as we go from 5 million to 10 million by 2050, we could save $550 billion in infrastructure costs by just coming back in on ourselves. The results, I think, beg the question, so why aren't we doing it?
The current population of Sydney is about 5 million people, with a view to that expanding to almost 8 million by 2050. Upwards of 70% of people live in our urban areas, and Australians still have a desire for a freestanding home on a block of land. And so as people try to acquire new homes, we need to build them further from the city. We're taking what is previously agricultural land and we're building houses on it, when frankly we don't really need to, and that's a very unsustainable thing from an economic perspective, an environmental perspective, and from an affordability perspective and a social perspective as well.
Before we continue, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Screen Australia and YouTube, as well as our contributors, and thank you also to NordVPN. We made this documentary with our global team at Never Too Small. And digital security is critical for us, as we have to move large amount of footage and deal with applications and payments for team members from all over the world. NordVPN makes this possible and gives us peace of mind knowing we are protected. It is easy to use with one click or enable automatic connection to protect yourself without clicking. NordVPN has more than 5,200 servers in 60 countries, making our global file transfer secure and is unmatched speed is the fastest VPN on the market. And it's also compatible for all the major platforms, making it easy for our team to use globally. We would like to thank NordVPN for protecting small footprint. To get protected like us, go to nordvpn.com/nevertoosmall to get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months with a huge discount. Now, back to the episode.
I grew up in the country and I was surrounded by space. I felt like I had to move to the city to find my people. I wanted a space that was able to sort of facilitate that feeling of space, but be affordable and close to everything that I need. Buying an apartment was definitely more affordable than buying a piece of land. I've got everything that I need just outside the door, so I didn't really feel the need for a massive space. It was very basic when I moved in. There was a large bedroom that I didn't really need to be so big, so the idea was to reduce those spaces and have a space where I could do my art that wasn't in my living space.
Previously, the master bedroom is where an art studio come second bedroom exists now. Grant recognised that if he shrunk his bedroom down, he would create a really large open plan living space that would bleed into his art and studio space. The main idea within this apartment, and to meet Grant's brief and his expectations, were to insert a pod through the centre of the apartment. It was very clear that he needed a lot of storage, and so the pod takes care of the bulk of that storage. We took inspiration from Grant's personality, from his belongings, from all of his art and things. And when we proposed this mirrored gold to mirror the ambience, to mirror those things that he had, he loved it immediately. While a lot of our projects are related to the idea of reductivism, Grant's place is not the personification of that by any means. The Warren is 49 square metres. For us, it was about creating the zones that he needed to have his apartment punch above its fairly modest size. If we wind back 5 years ago, the disparity between the cost of a studio, a 1-bed and a 2-bed, was not as great as it is now. It was nonsensical to take a studio apartment and spend money on it, because that amount of money would take you to 1 bed. And then it became sensible to spend a bit of money on a 1-bed, but not too much, because it would take you to 2-bed. In the inner city environment, the gap is so disparate now that people are left with no choice but to buy very small and make better. There are roughly 650 suburbs in Sydney, and the moment we build the 651st, the 650th becomes more expensive, the 649th, 648th, and so on. Sydney's best apartment housing stock is the stuff that's been here for 60 years. It's viewed as completely undesirable. A real estate agent will tell you that it's terrible stock, when in fact, it's very generous proportions. They have passive design principles, and new apartments are not imbued with that. There definitely needs to be a reimagining of the past when looking forward.
Living in here really came about as a collaboration with our friends, where we were faced with Melbourne's housing affordability dilemma. We really came together to see if we could try and purchase an area in a suburb like North Carlton with 4 people that we would otherwise never have been able to purchase a house in.
I suppose for the Australian mindset that we've got such a large amount of land in our country, there's a sort of reluctance to look to compact living. Ooh, might need a bit more stirring.
Now we are experiencing the problems of a big city, so now we are looking for more creative solutions. We asked a real estate agent to look for types of houses that could potentially be chopped into, and that we could create 2 houses from one. You could have 4 incomes supporting the loan, so we were able to borrow a higher amount of money. We purchased the house and we lived in it communally for probably 5 years, and then we formally subdivided the house into 2. This is our side for Ellen and I, and our friends live in the middle here. It's a very expensive area. 10 years ago, it would have been over $1 million, and I'm sure now it's probably pushing 1.5 as an estimate. Not something that we would have even really considered, to be honest, with our salaries. It was about overcoming that hurdle.
The original property with both halves was about 200 square metres. After we subdivided, our lot was almost exactly 100 square metres. And what we've done with the renovation is to make a courtyard at the front, so that's about 10 square metres, which leaves 82 on the ground, and then we've added 62 square metres at the upper level. So 144 all up. We obviously inherited a heritage building. We always knew we were going to work with the heritage brickwork and the impurities and layers of work that had happened to it over the years. What we thought was just put our efforts into making a kind of hidden world within those walls. Because this is a family house, I've got to really make sure there's enough storage for us to feel a calmness in the house, but at the same time accommodate a lot of creative, messy things. On the other side, the laundry is also pressed into that space.
This is the living room, and really it's the opposite to the dining, which is light and airy. This is a bit more hunkered down and a bit more cosy.
The bedroom design is our sort of sanctuary, I suppose. It's got a small outdoor deck and a small city view. Our ensuite is fairly compact. We just wanted to fit it in behind our bed head. This is the main bathroom of the house. We're also using this small deck space as our clothesline. The laundry chute is probably Mick's dream. The kids can just dump all their dirty laundry down the chute. It goes directly into another cupboard. The kids' rooms are either side of the front of the house. We wanted to really maximise on the space by building this small mezzanine bed. And our daughter has almost the mirror image set up on the other side.
What we've done here, it wouldn't be that progressive elsewhere. I lived in Copenhagen for a while, and this type of mixed arrangements are quite common. I lived in Amsterdam, and tiny apartment, but the amenity offered in the city is high. We really wanted to bring that lifestyle back to Australia. North Carlton really delivers. It's close to the city, it's got trams, and school is across the road. That was the goal. How can we get that? And we were never going to get that with our salaries, so we had to do it another way. Housing affordability is a key issue at the moment.
There is a limit to the livability of sprawling suburban lots. There's a disconnectedness. The further apart everybody is, the harder it is to make amenities work.
With Melbourne growing so quickly, it is not surprising that our borders have continued to expand.
The idea of a sort of laissez-faire, just carry on expanding, take as much space as you want, has never produced the best examples and best outcomes for cities or buildings.
We need more consistency in the way that we live, and densification is the way to do that, so that our communities can become distinguishable communities rather than simply rolling housing estates that are attached to motorways to take people to work 90 minutes away.
So with hundreds of billions of dollars to be saved if we focus on more well-designed solutions within our current city boundaries, why aren't we doing it?